It's another Wise Home Energy Show.
Pure energy.
Thank you, Mr. Spock, and welcome on in here to another edition of the program. We have Jeff Flaherty from Wise Home Energy. Hey, Jeff.
Hey, Bob. Thanks for having me back in the Wise Home Energy Show.
Absolutely. Always a pleasure. So summer's rolling on here, and people are just using that energy, and they're trying to not hate their home.
Right. Yeah, it's AC is the word of the summer, and certainly indoor air quality with some of our smoke that we used to see in the West Coast. We're getting it finally in the East Coast. So we used to empathize with the folks out there. Now we're really living the same conditions that they've lived with for years.
Yeah, it just keeps coming and going. I guess these Canadian wildfires are going to keep going, possibly. I guess some of them are out, but others expect they're going to continue to burn right into the fall.
Yeah, it's amazing nature. We don't really have that much control over it, right? Volcanoes blow up. We can't put a cap on them. As far as I know, maybe the science is there, but wildfires take off on their own, a lightning strike, and it just goes. So we're left to deal with how do we make it safe for our family, friends, and loved ones.
So anyway, part of the act here is making sure that your home is energy efficient and is tight. So that you're not breathing in those particulates and the smells from outside, and having a healthy environment for your family.
Yeah, without a doubt. And we see the kind of the housing shortage locally here, and it's probably nationwide, but one of the things we can do for that is supply. We want to increase supply, so we see new build homes. Even though the pricing is challenging for new builds, we're still seeing some new build construction. And we had a call recently, a couple months ago, of a gentleman with a 2-year-old home built in 2021, and built to code, and he had comfort issues. And you would think with a brand new built home built to code, we didn't look into all the code requirements for his home, but we would think that would be a comfortable home. And he had a 7-degree temperature differential between a bedroom and the living space.
So, and a brand new home.
Yeah, and it was a child's bedroom, so he was very concerned. And 7 degrees colder in the winter and 7 degrees hotter in the summer. So he called us out, and we did the diagnosis. And as we always talk about that blower door test, we proposed really taking out the insulation, properly air sealing the home to our standards, and re-insulating. And so we did that. It was a 2,600 square foot home. We started with a blower door test. We always talk about that measures how much air leaks out of the home. We started at 2174 cubic foot per minute, 50 pascals. And we lowered it to 1479 CFM 50 pascals, which doesn't mean much, but it's a 32% drop in the air leakage of the home. And the results were instantaneous. He was thrilled. Went online, wrote a detailed review of that improvement. So most people think that, hey, I got a brand new built home, it's going to perform great. And the challenge is, built to code it passed. And so when we take a test, or if we have kids in school, when they take a test, they get a 70, we're like, you passed. We might be looking for the 80s and 90s. And
I would think, yeah. Brand new home. I know that was not cheap.
Yeah. So, and it was not a production builder. It was a custom builder, and I'm not here to throw that, but the design part is, was it in the contract to make the home comfortable? Was it in the contract it was just in the contract to, make the kitchen look nice, the bathroom look nice, and here's your square footage. So we can't really control that. We'd certainly love builders to get more involved in the design process of the comfort and not so much of the visual. Visual is important for sure. But that really shows that that's probably happening a lot. And the reality is the usage was probably pretty decent in a home that size. And with that blower door, it probably wasn't bad. And so nobody would probably notice, except it was uncomfortable.
But it was fairly extensive correction, though. You say you took all the insulation
out of the attic, yeah. So
okay.
we didn't get the walls and and there's some cantilevers, some unique features, but people like those unique features. The architects make a lot of work for us. So it's interesting. Because normally people just want to take my information and go back to a builder, and I just tell them I don't think it's going to work like that. That they built it to code. The code officials inspected it, or inspected the paperwork, and that's it. So I started in this industry some 17 years ago, and I start with my first certification, and keep going from there. And I wouldn't have known how to fix this home after my first certification. After my second certification, I wouldn't have known. After my third, really, we probably would have looked at the blower door and said, "That's great." And as you keep increasing your knowledge, you fix more troublesome jobs. These are the type of jobs that many companies are passing on, and we get those calls. But how do we get that knowledge base? So one thing Wise Home Energy does is we always invest in our knowledge. So we make sure our people are taking continuing education classes, and so there's experts around the country that we look to and see where they're on the forefront of the technology, and see where the new processes are going of how we can fix homes properly. And we're lucky enough to have one of those people with us today. This gentleman is the author of the book, A House Needs to Breathe, or Does It? So I should say that again. It's in parentheses, A House Needs to Breathe, or Does It? An Introduction to Building Science. And this gentleman, followed him for years at some of the different conferences we go to. I'm either sitting in on the class, or some of the people at Wise Home Energy are sitting in the class, because he's just an expert in the field. He has a doctorate in physics, and he also writes the Energy Vanguard blog. So that's the type of people we look to advance our knowledge, and I wish more people would follow people like our guest here, because it's how we keep improving. You can't be stagnant. What I knew 30 years ago isn't going to be that relevant today on fixing homes. So,
well, that's fantastic. Let's meet him together here on the Wise Home Energy Show on WISL.
All right, let's bring our guest in, Dr. Allison Bailes III.
Yes, and he is the author of a book with the provocative title, A House Needs to Breathe, or Does It? Allison, welcome to the program.
Well, thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Let's get to know you a little bit. What is your background, and what do you do other than write books about houses and respiration?
Yeah, my background is physics. I have too many degrees in physics, and I was in academia when I changed careers 20 years ago. I was teaching at a small college in Georgia, which that job is what brought me to Georgia. I was teaching there. I hated the job, not because of the teaching, but because of my colleagues, the most dysfunctional group of people in the world. So I built a house, and that was therapy and launching me into a new career, building science.
And so this is kind of a learn-by-doing experience for you as you built this? You never built a house before?
I'd never built anything bigger than a bookcase before. I was handy with tools. I'd rebuilt a couple of engines and things like that, but I'd never done that kind of work. So it was great, and I loved it. I loved spending the 2 full summers working on that house. I mean, it was a 2-year project, and the whole time I thought it was a 2-month project. I was always just 2 months out. So the power of self-delusion kept me going.
Gotcha. Okay. So and in the process, you learned, of course, you've always been interested in energy, have you not?
Yes. Yeah. Energy efficiency, environmental stuff. Because I remember when I was in 5th grade, in 1971 or so, the EPA had just been founded. The Ohio River had been on fire a few years earlier, and
yes,
it was a big time for environmental stuff, and that influenced me as a kid. And so I wanted to work in that field, and brought my physics background to that eventually. It took me a while to get to working in this field, but the last 20 years in this field, I've been doing a number of things. My company, Energy Vanguard, does residential HVAC design, and we do consulting and training. I go out and speak, and I'm on this book tour right now for the book up here in the Northeast.
Yeah, been a great experience, and we just were lucky to have them come to Rochester and had a nice group out recently, for a talk by Dr. Allison Bailes and promoting the book. And it's great. As I said before, we as practitioners out in the houses, fixing the houses, need to have this front line of experts, and we're fortunate enough to not only have them in the industry but also have them in the area today. So it's great.
So this is kind of like continuing legal education for attorneys. This is 100%. You guys are just always out there absorbing new perspective.
Well, I always say that the first building science certification gives you just enough information to break houses. It really does. Because you're like, I'm fired up. I understand this. And you don't really know anything. So you run right out and you have to make mistakes. And they can be very costly mistakes. So that's why we have to continue our education. And so, as I said previously, we Dr. Bailes is a speaker on the national tour. There's a national conference every year, and then there's regional conferences every other year. So myself or our team is usually sitting in on his sessions.
By the way, we just want to jump in here and say that this continuing education, plus the experience that Jeff's talking about, and that other voice of Jeff Flaherty of Wise Home Energy, is another reason why Wise is a great choice. If you're feeling like you're going to hate your home if you don't do something about it, because you're just never comfortable. You're hot in the summer, you're cold in the winter, and it's driving you crazy. Give them the phone number to call.
Right. Don't hate your home. Pick up the phone, 585-270-5836. Wise Home Energy.
All right, so let's continue with our chat here with Allison Bailes. Go ahead, Jeff.
Sure. So
toss it to you.
Really would like to talk about the book. I mean, is the is the book more for contractors, or would you say it's also for the everyday person? Because there's just a wealth of information in there.
Yeah, it's a great question. And I in the preface, I addressed that issue a little bit. I said, really, this book is for any. It doesn't matter what you're doing, what your background is. A lot of people tell me that anybody can understand the way I write things, and that's a good thing. So, and I have people who read the blog who bought the book and enjoyed it, who are builders, contractors, program people, real estate agents, home inspectors, homeowners, architects. So it's a wide range of people in different backgrounds. It's just anybody who's fairly early on the building science learning curve is who I described. Somebody who has an interest in learning how all this stuff works and is willing to spend some time learning it.
Well, yeah, absolutely, and it's well packaged. And just earlier today, we opened up one of the doors here at the studio, and it stuck a little bit. So, right, that would be a little bit of the moisture swelling and the moisture load in the home, and that information is in the book. And a lot of times we get the calls of, well, I just replaced my furnace and did my insulation and replaced my windows, and I'd like to get an energy audit. And I think, well, what for? Hopefully you did it right, because if you did it wrong, my bill is not going to be telling you, oh, it's a $40 fix. Run down to the big box store and get some weather strips.
That train has left the station.
So that knowledge base, we'd love to see more builders really get involved and get your book, because it's the play on words. If I'm taking out of context, but it's the saying that we hear a lot. Well, let's insulate your home. Oh no, I'm a firm believer a house needs to breathe. So is that how how did the title of the book come about?
Yeah, that's pretty much it. I have had lots of conversations with people, a lot of them builders, who say, oh, well, no, we shouldn't build these houses too tight. A house needs to breathe. And they say, let's leave lots of random leaks in the building enclosure so that air can leak in from the garage, that nasty air from the garage with carbon monoxide and pesticides and gasoline fumes, and the air from the attic being sucked through the dead squirrel, and the air from the nasty basement.
That's the way it works.
Hey, listen, the rowboat needs to breathe, so let's leave some holes in the bottom.
Yeah, exactly. That's the same thing.
So when you're not writing books, what's your favorite thing to do? Is it speaking to contractors like myself? I mean, you're definitely considered the expert in the nation on building science, and there's a lot of people that look to you, and we love to know the speaking tour, and also the blog is something that we jump on. What's your favorite thing to do out of those?
Well, my favorite thing to do, I love going out and speaking and meeting people, and you know, this tour is great. And in the middle of this tour is my favorite event of the year, which is informally called Building Science Summer Camp, formally called the Westford Symposium on Building Science. And I've been going to that since 2011. It's incredible. Some of the best people. And you said I'm the expert in the nation. Well, I'm one of a bunch of experts, you know, and a lot of them will be in Westford, Massachusetts next week. So,
absolutely.
I love doing that. And when I'm at home, I love working on my house. I have a 1961 ranch house in Atlanta, Georgia, and I've been doing lots of work on that. It's pretty efficient right now for a 1961 house, and I've got a lot of work to do. The radon levels are elevated. So still working. I'm doing the basement right now. That's my big project.
So as we say, the cobbler's kids have no shoes. Sometimes it's a work in progress at our house, right? So I've gotten a few things done and tightening down, same thing, and there's still some projects. But once you fix houses all week, you don't want to go home and fix your own house is usually the way it works. So
I would imagine that from region to region, you run into different challenges in terms of, you know, energy efficiency and leakage and so forth. Like you say that you're in a 61, ranch in Georgia. And I know a lot of houses in the South don't have basements. They build them on a slab. So I'm thinking all that concrete has got to pose some challenges.
Yeah. In Atlanta, we're pretty hilly, and we have lots of houses with basements, lots of houses with crawl spaces, and a bunch with slabs too. So I don't know what the actual ratio is, but it seems like it's about a third. And actually, my house has crawl space and basement. So. But houses on slabs perform differently than houses on basements and crawl spaces, and in some ways they perform better because you don't have the air leakage as much through the slab as you do through a basement. You know, with because you don't have that band joist around the top. If you got a walkout basement, you don't have windows and doors to deal with at the foundation level. But you can have a lot of heat loss at the perimeter of the slab. And code requires climate. You know, you mentioned different regions. You know, the building code has climate zones specified. Lower numbers are hotter climates. Higher numbers are colder climates. You're probably climate zone 5 or 6 here.
Yeah, a little mix, 5 and 6.
Yeah, and in Atlanta we're climate zone 3, and Miami would be climate zone 1. So, the moisture issues, the heat issues are very different. Here in this area, in a cold climate in Rochester, one thing you have to worry about is diffusion of moisture through materials. Diffusion is not the biggest source of moisture problems with building assemblies. It's actually air leakage carrying moisture with it. But in a cold climate, even if you solve the air leakage problems in a wall, for example, you can still get enough moisture diffusing through and finding the cold sheathing to cause problems. So. And
that's really one of the things in Allison's book is that, you know, we have these graphs and rules of thumbs, and I think it notes in there that, maybe these DOE levels, suggested levels on moisture, but up in the north, that might not be the case. We might have to get outside that rule of thumb because each home is kind of different in those processes or those parts are interacting. But, while we're at it, Allison, what's how do we contact, or how do our listeners contact you for the book or for consulting or just to get your general knowledge in the blog?
Yeah. So our website is energyvanguard.com, ENERGYVANGUARD.com. And from there you can find our store, where you can buy the book, energyvanguardstore.com, but it's also linked to on the website. And the blog is where most of the action happens on our website, but our HVAC design pages are where you would go to inquire about hiring us for residential HVAC design.
Excellent.
Interesting.
And also one other place. I spend a lot of time on LinkedIn, so look for me on LinkedIn and either connect with me or follow me there. And I post a lot there.
Excellent.
I just wanted I'll just toss this out for both of you gentlemen. I would imagine that the standards, for energy, conservation or retention or whatever the term is kind of a moving target because technology is always improving, right? I mean, you mentioned we had a little case history earlier on in the program from Jeff talking about a house that was built 2 years ago and how that needed remedial work. And that was kind of a decision that was made, I guess, by the contractor originally. But I would imagine that a house that you make tight these days could be made much tighter 3 or 4 years from now for additional savings and additional comfort.
Well, I'll probably throw that to Allison. I mean, there's certainly already contractors that are doing a higher level, and there's a balance between, probably energy and comfort and building durability. I don't know would you say it would be more the technology that'll change or the equipment that we put in these homes?
Well, we have the technology now to make super, super airtight houses. And the other thing in the balance equation you just mentioned there that you didn't mention was cost.
Right.
We can make things as airtight as we want, but a lot of builders don't want to spend the extra money to do it. And so they say, a house needs to breathe. Yeah. I don't want to spend the money. Right. Is what they really mean by that.
But you could do this kind of like on a cost-plus basis, though, could you not? I mean, if you had a client, a homeowner who said, within reason, I want this house to be as tight as possible. And so it's going to be more expensive, but they're willing to go for it. I would imagine you encounter that.
Yeah, I think, and I would say there's different classifications, right? There's energy code, which is just, let's build it to this, and hey, we got it. And we don't really know how well it performs. We don't know how durable it is. So we might have hit the energy goals, but we didn't hit the comfort and durability goals. And then there's passive house or net zero. That's really over the top, getting after every component. And then in between, there's really, I don't know if it's a loose term or a factual term of a pretty good house. So some people have and that's a standard in between the energy code and the passive house. So there's these different levels, and Allison is 100% correct that cost is the factor that goes into the equation. At what costs do you want to go to a what level? And it really needs to be one of the first things that we talk about when we talk about a project, because if we design a passive house and you're on an energy code budget, it's not going to work. It's going to be a fail.
Let me say add a couple other things to that. Number one, it costs more to do all this stuff right, but you can also get some savings from some of the stuff. For example, if you do advanced framing, you're building a stick-built house with wood, you can do advanced framing techniques and cut your lumber package costs down. You can build the house, more airtight, better insulated, better windows, and reduce the size of the heating and cooling system that you need in the house. So there are some savings that come too. But overall, you're probably going to spend a little bit more. The net effect is a little bit more. And then you get savings from the operational costs are lower, and probably the repair costs because the house is more durable. And then there's the intangible benefit, the same kind of benefit people get from saying, I want a granite countertop or I want the really nice cabinets. Comfort. Then the house is more comfortable. The house has better indoor air quality. It's a healthy home. So there's a lot of good stuff about it too.
Absolutely. Yeah. What would you say where the industry needs to go? We talked about new built homes. I think we need builders to get on board. What do you think the biggest gap is right now for people to buy in? Because I feel like there's not a ton of people that have bought into making better homes.
Yeah. So. So we need more education, and I'm trying to do my part in that, writing the book and the blog and getting the word out there as much as possible. And one of the big hurdles right now is people finding good contractors or consultants to help them do this stuff. And we, in our company, we do third-party HVAC design, and Most of the time that works out okay, but sometimes people have trouble finding a contractor who will implement the design properly, and because they look at the design and say, "Oh, that'll never work."
Yeah. So to your point, I want to say that's right in the beginning of the book. Begin with the end in mind, right? So we want to set up people that want to redo their homes or people that want to build new homes. We want to know what the end goal is. So, and that's why we look to people like Allison and other experts in the nation to really guide that policy and procedure so that we're doing the right things. And as he said before, for the climate zone, right? We're not going to build the same thing here as we're going to build in Miami because we've got some different forces acting on the house. So, let's get the contact information again in case folks are just joining us of how they can reach you.
Sure, it's energyvanguard.com is our website. And the blog is where all the articles are, and I write about one new article a week nowadays. Our HVAC design page is where you would go if you want to hire us for a third-party HVAC design. You can find the link to our book, our store where you can buy the book there. It's energyvanguardstore.com, but it's also listed in the blog.
Excellent. And that design is absolutely huge. It's something that people really, the way it usually works, we'll go into homes that are 5-10 years old, and there'll be a furnace in the basement, and then there'll be one in the attic. And we're like, how did this happen? And they're like, the builder got nervous right at the last minute and said, I think you need... I'm like, that's a heck of a game time decision.
Yikes.
I mean, that's one heck of an audible to say, I think we need another furnace. And, so it's done on a low budget. It's not installed properly. And chances are they didn't need another furnace. You just see mayhem. I mean, one of the last ones I had, he didn't want to move forward with work, but he had a furnace in the attic, 20-year-old home. And I think he spent $15,000 knocking ice off a couple years ago because it was so jammed up. And, our attitude is, why do you want to do this every year over and over again? Why don't you want to fix it? So
I've never heard of a furnace in the attic. That's a new one on me.
Yeah.
But I guess probably between the two of you guys, you've covered the waterfront in terms of, case histories.
Probably seen a lot.
Scratching your head.
I'm sure Allison's been called out on a lot of hinky stuff out there in the world and seen some crazy stuff. So.
Hinky, by the way, is a technical term, but you'll find a full definition in Allison's book. He's got a hinky section. Right?
Oh, yeah.
I might have to make that up as an acronym. I might have to come up with something like that.
It's got to mean something, right? All right. Well, Allison, thanks so much for being in the studio and joining us here on the Wise Home Energy Show. It's very interesting to get your perspective and to know that physics can be applied, has a really practical application in home building.
It's an interesting, we all go down the rabbit hole a different way. He certainly went down from a heck of a science background, and, it's funny. Someday I'll have to tell the story of how I got into it. Sometimes it's accidental, sometimes it's on purpose, but it's fun, the path once you get down it. And I got a guy who's kind of working with a little bit. He's torn down his house because he not tore it down, but he bought the house 7 years ago, immediately did a new roof, and the roof is already rotted out. And he started calling people in, and by the time we got there, he'd already done his path. But 7 years, and he said, I'm not redoing this roof again. This thing, and he's got temperature and sensor temperature and humidity monitors up in the attic, wired down, and he's gone down the rabbit hole. I expect he'll be in the industry soon by the time he's done with his house.
He's learning it from the inside out. In the remaining moment we have here, let's talk about Wise Home Energy. Tell them who you are, where you are, and how to get in touch with you.
Sure. Wise Home Energy, we're serving really all of Western New York, and you can contact us on the web at wisehomeenergy.com or call us at 585-270-5836.
One more time with the phone number.
585-270-5836.
Allison Bailes, thanks so much for joining us on the program.
Oh, well, thank you for having me. I enjoyed it.
Good luck with the book, and we'll see you next time on the Wise Home Energy Show.
I want to know what you